All right, guys, welcome to episode 54 of the Digital Barbell podcast, coming to you live. I guess we're live, but you're not listening to this live. But anyway, we're happy to have you here. Thanks to all of you that take the time to listen. If you have a minute to leave us a review wherever you're listening to this, it really helps us reach more people. That's the way that different podcast platforms decide who they're going to show people in their feed. Like, hey, you need to listen to this because they get really good reviews. They're awesome. So do that if you can. We'd really appreciate it. This week's sponsor.
Oh, no.
We are sponsored by old Volvo station wagons. So my sister has been in town visiting us. She lives in Hong Kong, but she's been staying with us for a couple weeks.
She drove down in her old Volvo station wagon.
She drove here from Hong Kong. No, but she flew in to where my dad lives, and she drove his old Volvo station wagon down here, and we've all been toting around in it.
It's a sweet ride.
It's a sweet ride.
It's smooth, and like you just kind of feel like you just like hover over the bumps.
It's supple.
Yeah.
It's got a leather interior. So anyway, one of my first cars was a Volvo. Yeah. It was like a 1982 two-door Volvo Turbo, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And it was pretty cool. I wish I had still had that car, actually.
You know, it's pretty sad, though. We're sitting there calling this car old. It's like a 02. It's crazy that something that's 2002 is an old car, but it is. It's almost a 20-year-old car.
Yeah, but we have clients that were born in 2002.
Let's move on from that subject.
And your Land Cruiser is a 1997. That's even older.
Yeah, I know. But it's just funny. Something that's an 02 should be an old car.
Yeah, but it is. I guess that's coming up on an antique.
Yeah.
So let me do a little housekeeping announcements kind of thing here. First, registration for our 3 12-week programs is open today through the 4th of July, and the workouts start on the 5th of July. You want to tell everybody what our 3 workout programs are real quick?
So if you go to the website, digitalbarbell.com, we've been doing a lot of work on the website, and we have 3 programs now that are releasing at the first Monday of every month. These are 12-week programs. Each program comes with a free month of nutrition coaching. It's an amazing value. But the 3 programs are Basics, formerly known as Built with Dumbbells. But the Basics program is strength training, bodybuilding, and accessory with dumbbells only. So it's a great place to start if you're just getting back into it. It's great if you want to build some strength. It's great if you're working out at home and you just have some dumbbells. It's a great program.
Let me just say something about that real quick. I think this program is awesome for people who already have like a little bit of cardio that they enjoy doing on the side. Like if they like to take a couple Peloton classes per week, or if they enjoy running a few miles a couple times per week, this is a great program to add in to that kind of thing.
It's 4 days per week, about 45 to like 65 minutes per workout.
Yeah, you're going to get strong, dumbbells.
Yep, just dumbbells. The second program is the body program. This is our full body fitness program. It has strength, it has bodybuilding, and it has conditioning, 5 days per week, a little bit longer, 45 to about 75 minutes on the workouts. And these can be done with barbells or dumbbells.
Yeah. And
then the last program is our Built program. So this is a strength training only program. Barbell experience is required for this one. Similar to the Basics program, you're just going to do strength training and bodybuilding, but you're going to use barbells in this program. So
yeah, you're going to be doing squats, deadlifts, all that with a barbell. Yep. And it can be adapted to be done in a gym or at home.
Or at a home gym. We have clients doing both. Some of them are working out in like a gym. Some of them are working out at their house. Yep. If you have enough equipment.
So like I said, each month, each group is limited to 10 clients. I forget where we're at right now, but I'm sure it's getting close. So jump in. Like Blakely said, a free month of nutrition coaching, which almost pays for the cost of the program. So it's completely worth it. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So what do we got going on today?
Today we got some deep thoughts with Jonathan. I thought this would be a pretty fun episode. So I'm just going to rattle off some ideas, some things we've been talking about, some topics that have been on in our head, or some things that have come up recently, and see Jonathan's thoughts on them, and I might chime in.
Well, this is going to be a really low-rated episode if I'm the only one talking. So please,
I'll chime in. Maybe.
Interrupt and interject.
Okay, so this is kind of funny, but last night we went out for barbecue. and Jonathan's sister and mom were in town. His sister's still here. His mom just left. And his sister woke up like sweating in the middle of the night. And Jonathan and I were like, she's like cranking the AC down. She's like, oh my gosh, I was waking up all night. I'm sweating. And we're like, oh, it was the meat sweats. And she's like, what are the meat sweats? Well, if you've watched Friends, you've probably heard of Joey having the meat sweats.
Yeah.
But it's actually a real thing. So let's talk about the meat sweats.
All right. So let's talk about what it is. So we have our metabolism, which is it has a lot of different meanings, the word metabolism, but one of it can be described as how many calories we burn in a day, basically our total daily energy expenditure. And think of it like a pyramid. And as you go up the levels of the pyramid, everything gets smaller and smaller. The base of the pyramid is the number of calories we burn just to be alive. And then as we go up and up and up, at the tip of the pyramid is this thing called the thermic effect of food. And it's the calories we burn digesting the food we eat. All that requires energy also. And different food that you eat requires different calories burned to get the nutrients out of it. So, and we leverage this fact when we're trying to help somebody lose fat. Protein requires the most amount of calories to be digested. And if you think about what happens when you burn calories, there is a thermic effect to it. It raises your body temperature a little bit. So a higher protein diet causes more calories to be burned, which can raise your core temperature a little bit. Not that you need to get out your thermometer and check and see if you have a temperature after you eat a steak, but that's one of the side effects of it. So if you eat a large bolus of meat before you go to bed, you might have a little bit of extra temperature overnight. Like you go to, what are the Brazilian steakhouse is called?
Brazilian steak.
I mean, we each for dinner had, that sandwich I had last night was like half a pound of turkey on it. I think
I was actually thinking about not having the meat sweats last night because we went to the Salt Lick and I ordered just the turkey plate. I didn't see that on the menu it said like optional, like you can get bread and pickles and onions or whatever on the side. You had to by request. So literally the lady brings me out just a plate of turkey.
Half a pound, baby.
My first thought was like, oh gosh, if I eat all this, I am going to have the meat sweats.
But it is a real thing. And and we use the fact that protein burns more calories to help our fat loss clients, because not only does it help keep you fuller, but you get the benefit of burning more calories by eating a high protein diet. So that's what I have to say about the meat sweats.
It can really happen.
It's a real thing.
Okay, so this next one, we were actually sitting this morning having coffee with your mom, and Jonathan was trying to think of some questions for the podcast, and he said, "Do you have any questions? That you've I guess like things that you
myths
like, kind of like myths or something about nutrition." And she said she's always heard like if you don't eat past like. She said 6 p.m. I think that's a little early, but if you don't eat past like 8 p.m. or whatever the time is, will you lose weight?
Yeah. And we put up
a
post about this today.
Okay.
Because everybody knows that there's days where you wake up and you weigh more than other days. And one of the things that can cause that is by eating later at night. So some people think in their mind like, well, I don't want to wake up heavier than I need to. So I'm going to avoid, eating at night. I'm going to stop my last meal at 5 o'clock or whatever so that I wake up lighter. But really, the only reason you wake up heavier in the morning is because that food is still sitting in your stomach and in your digestive tract undigested yet. And there might be some water retention caused, depending on what you ate, that's contributing to the higher number on the scale the next day. But this isn't a reason to avoid eating late at night. It's just that food is still in you. When you look at what causes actual fat gain, which is more important than weight gain. Everybody, there's a difference. You can lose weight but not lose fat because you lose water weight. The thing that contributes to gaining fat is an overconsumption of calories across the course of a day or a week or a month. So you could eat all of your calories for the day just at dinner, and if sure, you're going to wake up heavier because that food hasn't digested. But if the number of calories that you ate during that meal don't exceed the number of calories that you burn on average over the course of that day, then you're not going to store body fat. It's part of the mental hurdles that we help people overcome as far as weighing, is understanding what contributes to your body weight every day detaching the emotion from that number on the scale, weighing yourself more frequently so that you can look at an average of the week or the month, and understanding just what causes your body weight to change. Like there's freedom in knowing I ate extra rice at dinner and I ate extra late last night. I'm probably going to wake up a little bit heavier for those reasons. And then when you weigh yourself in the morning and you have power knowing that those choices are what contributed to that number. But you always have to fall back on the science of it, that if you know how much you ate and you know you didn't eat too much, then it's just those two things causing it, not a storage of body fat.
And I think people generally give out this advice to someone maybe who is trying to lose weight because a lot of times the things that we eat late at night are not the most nutritious things. Maybe at night, after a certain time, we're reaching for a bag of chips or we're reaching for that ice cream in the freezer. And I think that's always been one of those reasons that people say, like, okay, don't eat past 9 p.m. And
if cutting off the time that you eat causes a change to your habits or behavior, then absolutely it can help contribute to not gaining weight or even losing weight. But waking up heavier, like I said, I won't restate the whole thing. Right. You get that. So I mean, you have to identify what is the actual thing triggering the behavior that's setting you off. Yeah.
If it's helpful to say, like, I won't eat past 9 p.m. because at 10 p.m. is usually when you reach for the ice cream in the fridge, then that might be a helpful tool for you to use.
Yeah. This whole thing goes in hand with the argument of, like, I'm going to avoid eating salt because it always makes me wake up heavier. It's not causing you to gain more fat, but you ate salt late at night and you woke up a couple pounds heavier. You don't need to avoid a salty meal just to avoid seeing that number on the scale. You're seeing an increase in water retention, not an increase in body fat. So don't avoid eating a salty meal at night just for that reason. Understand the driving principles behind weight gain and loss, fat gain and loss, and, base your decisions based on that.
Nice. All right. Do you want to talk about tendinitis?
Yes. Let's talk about tendinitis. Because I've got a little bit of a flare up in my left arm today based on some stuff that I did yesterday. But I want to just talk about real quick what it is, what to watch for, and kind of how to handle it when you start to feel it creeping up on you. It's basically an overuse injury. Tendons are the things that attach to your bone and actually make your limbs articulate based on the power of your muscles. And when you do a repetitive motion over and over again, you can get little micro tears in the tendon. That's really what tendinitis is. It's a repetitive use that causes these little micro tears. And the bad part is that tendons and ligaments and these kinds of connective tissues have a really poor blood supply to them. So they take a really long time to heal. So you really want to avoid pushing through the pain of a tendinitis, causing more damage than you need to, because it's just going to take even longer to heal. So in my case, I've had tennis elbow in both elbows, a few times over the last 5 years. So I know the signs of what that pain feels like. And I know that there's certain exercises I do that kind of trigger the potential to start feeling that pain. So if you've never had a tendinitis, it usually happens at a joint, at the place where the tendon attaches to the bone. It's almost like a sharp, aching feeling. It's like if somebody was sticking kind of a hot needle in there, and you only feel it when you move your joint a certain way, or if you move your hand a certain way, depending on where the tendinitis is. But that's the general feeling. It's kind of a sharp, achy feeling that you only feel when you do certain things. So the thing to do when you start to feel that is really identify what is the action I'm doing that's causing that pain to flare up.
Like, for example, for you, a lot of times it's a grip.
Right.
It's not moving the elbow. It's actually gripping your hand. So if it's like you're doing whatever, a lot of deadlifts, if you're doing curls, whatever it is, and you're holding the weight up, it's causing the tendinitis up in your elbow. So what are some things you can, like, you'll start to do in the coming weeks?
Yeah. So now mine, I'm feeling it in the same spot that I normally do. And I know that weighted wrist flexion causes the pain to get worse. So I'm going to avoid any motions that are triggering that feeling. And then exercises that are really grip intensive, I'm going to make sure that I'm consciously relaxing my grip, so I'm not overusing that tendon any more than I have to. And I'm going to use lifting straps on exercises where I do need to grip something heavy, so that the tendon is bearing less of the load and more of it goes over to the strap. Also, an important thing to do when you start to feel these little nagging pains come up is really look at your entire scope of life, not just what you're doing in the gym.
Yeah.
Are there any other little things you're doing in life, like typing, holding your coffee cup, pouring things?
Holding your phone in a certain way.
Right. All these things could be little bitty things that are aggravating that same spot and will make it take longer to heal if you keep making it mad.
Yeah.
So you got to avoid the things that are making it worse. You know, it's debatable whether ice helps tendinitis. The research is inconclusive on that. Anecdotally, it might feel good to do. There's some research that shows like what's called cross-frictional massage can be beneficial, which is basically like going to the point of pain and massaging perpendicular to the way that the tendon runs, you know, back and forth for a long time. I've never found it to really help me in times that I've had flare-ups. It actually kind of hurts. But anyway, the biggest thing to do is to stop making it mad and alter the behaviors that you can do. I mean, it could be something as simple as like what you said, the way that you're holding your phone is really the culprit, and you just kind of put it over the top in the gym.
Yeah.
So I will wait until the pain is almost gone, and then I will start to experiment with, you know, adding back in the exercises that have made it mad in the past, and just let my body do its natural thing of adapting to the stress and overcoming it.
I will say one thing not to do in this situation is like Jonathan is kind of prone to getting this tendinitis related to a grip, would be for him to not wear lifting straps 100% of the time. If he did that, then he wouldn't be building any strength. Whenever he's not in the state of tendinitis, he would not be building any strength to make his tendons stronger. So if he always relied on help, then he would be actually in a worse place. So he can use lifting straps for the next few weeks. And then once the tendinitis clears, it's more beneficial for him to not use the lifting straps until it starts to occur again, or just use those lifting straps on like the really heavy, you know, deadlift sets, and not like when you're just lifting anything like dumbbell rows and everything else you do.
Yeah. It'd be like the equivalent of somebody who has wrist pain. You're like, well, just put a wrist wrap on it.
But
like, you're never going to strengthen the wrist if you're supporting it with a wrap.
Right.
So, you know, artificially all the time.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's my plan, and that's about tendinitis.
Okay.
I feel sorry for you guys if you ever had it. It's a mother.
Oh goodness. Okay. All right. So this question came in from your sister.
It's a family affair.
She asked, should you do strength or cardio first in your training?
You probably have an opinion about this also, but really what it boils down to is, what is your priority? You need to make sure that you're able to give your best effort in your workout to whatever your priority is.
Yeah.
I know, you know, there's been times in the Body 2.0 cycle where we go through different periods. You know, that's the program you write that's a continuation of Body. And there's been times where you've had a focus on conditioning. So we'll do our warm up, we'll do our conditioning workout, and then afterwards we do our strength and bodybuilding. And for
the most part, we would generally do the strength first, then in the accessories, and then the conditioning.
Right. So unless doing some cardio is part of your warm up, almost all the time for general physical fitness, you would do your conditioning work after your strength training, because that's going to require the most energy production, you know, most energy recruitment, most muscle mass required.
Are you talking about
the strength training? Did I say that wrong?
No, I was just making sure it was clear.
Yeah, you would do your strength work first, because that's going to use the most glycogen. It's going to use the most energy. It's going to be the most taxing. And then you would do your conditioning afterwards. The exception would be like a professional CrossFitter who is kind of blurring the lines between high performance conditioning through weight training. But 99% of people out there, I recommend that they do their weight training first, and then they do their conditioning afterwards, especially if it's like a low intensity conditioning, like a steady state jog.
Like if you're like going to go steady state, you know, row for 25 minutes, you wouldn't want to do that first, kind of wear yourself out, and then be like, now I'm going to go for a pretty heavy back squat.
Exactly.
Except, like we just said, like unless there's a priority for that certain cycle you're on.
Yeah, if you're if you're an endurance athlete, then you need to do your running training first before you do any kind of strength training.
I remember when we were doing the endurance cycle and we did have the conditioning first. It was pretty tough. It was pretty tough to do the strength, just because our bodies were adapted to doing like strength, accessory, and then conditioning. To do it in the opposite order, do conditioning, then strength, then it's an accessory. It was tough to do those strength lifts after getting worn down by conditioning. Because the point of that conditioning was to like give it your all and go hard on it. And then you're breathing heavy. You need a little bit more time to recover. I think the whole workout as a whole takes longer because you need a little bit more recovery in there before you start your strength sets.
Yep, definitely. So synopsis is do whichever one is your priority first, which for most of our clients is doing their strength training first.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Let's see. What do we want to talk about now?
What do we got?
Okay. So this has come up. I've always kind of had a conflict. There's kind of been like a push toward like, CrossFit has a saying like, get off the carbs, get off the couch.
Yeah.
Like this is slogan. Like a push toward, getting off carbs, getting off the couch, like moving your body and not eating carbs. And then, I've kind of always been like in this like state of like, well, I mean, we eat quite a bit of carbs.
Yeah, we
like,
don't promote
use
low carb.
Yeah,
diets.
We don't promote low carb or no carb diets. We use carbs to fuel our workouts and fuel our activity level. So there's always been like a confusion for me of why are they on this such a kick to get off the carbs? Mm-hmm. But what they're talking about is getting off the highly processed carbohydrates.
Yeah, it's this balance between, like I said, us promoting that you do not need to go on a low carb diet to lose fat to achieve great levels of fitness. Mm-hmm. You don't need to do that. But there's also this side of the equation that most people are eating way too many carbs because of the type of carbs that most people tend to gravitate towards naturally.
Yeah, which are the things that come in boxes or wrappers.
Right. So the real issue with carbs is that usually they come paired with a high source of fat with some salt or some savory or some sweet.
Something easy to overeat.
Come in a box, comes in a package, comes in the freezer case. So we do not promote a low carb diet, but we want you to have success by choosing favorable carb sources that don't lead you to over consuming food in general, which will have a negative health impact on you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just a general confusion in general, because people would be like, oh, you obviously don't eat carbs. Like if you see like an athletic looking person, you're like, well, they obviously don't eat carbs. And I think that's definitely like a wrong assumption. They do eat carbs. They eat carbs to fuel their body, but maybe they do, maybe they don't, but in general, they eat the right type of carbs.
Yeah. I think if you look at just like the average person walking down the street, like if you could peek inside of their nutrition and see what their carbohydrate sources look like, it's probably things that, or their main carbohydrates is probably, more highly processed things like crackers, like cookies, breads, pastas, sweets in general, juices, dried fruits, those kinds of things, which all those things, while they're just nutrition, they're just food, they're just calories, they're made in a way that makes them very easy to overeat. Whereas if you're somebody who eats mostly whole foods, meaning like single ingredient, very
like rice,
very little
oatmeal.
done to it from the time it comes from the earth till it goes in your mouth, those are typically simpler foods that have less ingredients and less other things added to them, and they're mostly one of the three macronutrients, which makes them harder to overeat. Like you're probably not going to sit down and eat 4 cups of white rice by itself. Now if you put some soy sauce on it, or you turned it into fried rice with something else into it, I bet that's tasty enough to sit down and eat 4 cups of pretty easily. So therefore, like people think, well, I can't eat rice. That goes in the unhealthy category, but it really comes down to what was done to the rice that made it so easy to overeat. And that kind of turns into this demonizing the fact that it was rice in the first place. But if most of your carbs are coming from fruits, vegetables, grains, and those kinds of things, those are going to be highly nutritious, full of fiber, hard to overeat.
Yeah.
And they have plenty of fuel to fuel your exercise and your overall health.
Yeah, like the general guideline of like when you grocery shop, if you grocery shop the perimeter of the store, you're going to find those whole foods. And, you know, you are going to find a lot of carbohydrate sources on the perimeter, but you're not going to find anything in a box around there.
Yeah, stuff in boxes is super easy to overeat. Like, who hasn't sat down with a box of Triscuits or Wheat Thins?
Yeah.
And that's what causes people to think like, well, I can't eat carbs. Well, no, really. Like, it's the fact that it's so easy to eat.
Yeah.
You know, 6 portions of them.
Right.
And yes, they are high in carbs. That was the problem. It wasn't the fact that they were carbs. It was that it was so tasty you had to eat so much of it. Just like, what is the potato chip brand? Nobody can eat just one. I think it's Lay's. That was their slogan for a long time.
True.
It is true. So yes, there is this conflict between telling people that you don't have to go on a low carb diet to lose fat, and the fact that most people are eating too many carbs in general.
Yeah.
But that's just the truth.
Okay.
What you looking at? Checking the time? We're at 25 minutes. Keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling. All right. Let's see. What do we want to talk about? Your sister brought this up in the car as well. She said she had heard about someone saying this, and like it was a good like quote of like, you know, going into something, starting something new, and not like expecting that it's going to be hard as you start, not expecting like, well, I'm going to go start this workout program and I hope it's easy.
Right. Yeah. It's like reframing your expectation of starting something new. Just go ahead and expect that this whole fitness thing, whether it be an exercise program or focusing on your nutrition, just go ahead and expect that it's going to be hard,
right?
And it's going to require some discipline, and there's going to be times where you want to give up, and there's going to be times where you're frustrated. If that's your expectation and your expectations are met, then at least it's what you hoped it was. But if you go in thinking like this is going to be a magic pill and I'm not going to have to really do anything, then you are going to be disappointed when it gets to the point where motivation is low, and you have to rely on a little bit of grit and a little bit of self-discipline and a little bit of delayed gratification and be an adult and do hard things when you don't want to. Just go into it expecting that. Cody had a podcast, I think it was last week or so, about this exact same thing. I was like, as soon as you get to the point where you realize that this is going to be hard and you accept that, that's kind of when your journey can begin.
Yeah.
If you want to mess around with expectations that there is some magic pill and there's something that you can do that's not going to require any effort, you're going to be stuck in this continuous yo-yo loop for your entire life. And the good thing about accepting that it's going to be hard from the beginning is that you will stick with it long enough to where it no longer becomes so hard, because you have the habits in place. You start to know what it feels like on the other side of hard, and that becomes motivation enough to keep going. Is it going to be easy forever, even if you get to that point? No, there's going to be times where motivation is low. There's times where I don't feel like going out and working out. There's times where I feel like, you know, having a piece of cake when it would be better for me to have some fruit and some yogurt. Everybody faces those temptations, but if you stick with the hard long enough, those times become easier the longer you go with it.
Yeah.
But it's about reframing in your mind before you even start the next thing that you are in this for the long haul, even when it gets hard.
Yeah. And even when it's not convenient for your schedule, and even when you're on vacation, and you know, just like all of the evens as they add up, because there's always going to be a reason to like not do that hard thing.
There's always a but.
There's always a like, you know, I wanted to go do this workout, but I didn't really have enough time. It would take too long. I didn't want, but we were out of town.
Right. I think this kind of segues into something else that I think we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
And this is really just a warning, I guess, that based on experience of the time that you own the gym and from working with people, and we're coming up on the summer, and
we're in the summer.
We're
a month into summer.
Yeah. And people are going on vacations. The world is open.
This next week is a hard. Well, I guess I'm like confused what day it is. Yeah. This is a hard week. We're leading up to a holiday weekend. We're leading up to the 4th of July.
Right.
A lot of people are on trips right now. This is a tough week, and it's going to be a tough week to bounce back from. You're gonna
Yeah. So our advice is have nothing to bounce back from. Like, do not say in your mind, okay, I'm going to be I'm just going to, take a break for a couple weeks and then I'm going to get back at it.
Yeah.
It is so hard to quote, get back at it once you just completely you start ignoring the things that got you to the, to the good place that you are now. It is so hard mentally and physically. So don't let the habits die. Have nothing to come back from. Keep most of your habits in place, during these hard times. And
it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, and it doesn't have to be this, 100% the same. We have those no equipment workouts that so many people have asked for, and I'm just like, you're awesome. Like, you're going to be on a break for a week and you're going to be moving. It's not going to be the same thing you were doing when you're at your gym or at home and you have all your stuff, but you're going to be continuing to move. And so you're not going to be like 3 steps back when you return from the trip.
Yeah. It's so easy to get caught up in this, like, if I can't do it perfect, I can't do it at all.
Yeah.
Like, people, something is better than nothing. If nothing else, it keeps the habit alive. If you're tracking your nutrition, you're going on a 2-week vacation, that's too long to be away from a habit. You need, not that you need to be some kind of freak about, bringing your food scale out at a restaurant on vacation, but you need to keep the habits alive that got you where you got in the first place.
Right.
And then you have to do something physical with your body to keep the habit alive. And even like from a physiological standpoint, if you're worried about losing your strength and muscle while you're on a trip, even doing some body weight exercises is enough to preserve the progress that you've made.
Yeah.
Doing nothing is not a good option at all. Don't have something to come back from.
Not only that, you just feel better each day, even when you're on a trip. You feel better mentally, you feel better physically, and you don't feel really bad when you get back home.
Yeah. Amen. Sorry, I got a little fired up there.
It's okay.
What else? We got another one?
Last one. All right. So why do we do different progressions of exercises? Like, why do we do a front squat and a back squat and a goblet squat? Like, why don't we just do dumbbell curls? Why do we do dumbbell curls? Why do we do concentration curls and hammer curls?
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons, but the main thing I wanted to talk about on this one was muscles are complicated. Your joints are complicated. You were made to move in a lot of different planes of motion. There aren't a whole lot of joints in your body that only do one thing. Think about how many angles your shoulder can go at and how many angles your hip can go at. And because of that, there's a lot of different ways to strengthen both the range of motion that your muscles move in and the different parts of your muscle. Think back to anatomy class when you saw the skeleton dude with all the different muscles on him. There's all these different parts of your muscle groups. A lot of times it's described in the muscle, like the biceps has 2 heads, the triceps has 3 heads. And if we're trying to build balanced strength and if we're trying to build a physique, it's important to target the different muscles so that they all get, both worked evenly for balance reasons and just effectively for strength reasons. So you do that by using different exercise selections where the limbs are in different positions, like a bicep curl with your elbow behind your torso works your bicep differently than one with your elbow in front of your torso. That's why we do things like wall attached band curls or, incline bench curls where your arm's hanging down low. That's why we do barbell curls with your elbow down at your side. That's why we do tricep exercises in different planes, like elbow behind, tricep kickbacks, or elbow above, overhead tricep extensions, band push downs, elbow at the side.
It's not just to destroy you.
Incline bench press works a different part of the chest and shoulders than flat bench. So it's different. It's 2 main reasons. It's for balance and it's for a well-rounded. When I say balance, I mean like you're not strengthening only one head or part of the muscle. And then it's just for overall physique development also. It's also better for joint health to be more balanced. Yeah. And also you'll find things that you feel more than others. Like I feel LTEs in my triceps like crazy.
And I feel tricep extensions much more than I feel the LTE.
Right. So you gotta find the ones that you feel the most and put effort into those also. Yeah. So that's the main reason. And then things like your headphones bother you.
Tight.
That giant head coming back again. Front squats versus back squats. One works your glutes more, one works your quads more. Back squat works your glutes more, in case you were wondering, than the front squat. So anyway, it's for that reasons. It's not for randomness. Right. Which you said this is the last one, but I want to bring this into it also. because I said randomness. We were looking through a workout program.
Yeah, you guys are really lucky. You guys that get these digital barbell programs, because every once in a while I like to see like what other people are doing, and I'm not just saying our programming is good because I write it, but our programming is good.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was looking around to kind of like, make sure I'm fresh on what everybody's doing out there, and I came across some in there like. While we like to do some progression, like some, incline bench and some closed grip bench, and because we know like the benefits of changing things, there are some things that we like repeat, and we have progressions that we take you guys through, and and it's like, I'm not just out there to like make you guys like, okay, I want to make every workout like not boring, so we're never going to do the same thing. You'll never progress. You'll never like, get the benefit of like adding a little bit of weight each time you see that exercise. You'll never even get good at that exercise if you only do it once. So a lot of these programs I was seeing, it was just like, yeah, maybe you press once a week, but like you strict press day one, and then like on the next week you like behind the neck press, and the next week you wide grip press, and then like, well, how do you ever add weight if you're constantly changing the way you press?
How do you ever get good at the exercise, and how do you ever add weight to it? Like you said,
yeah,
it's like there's no like a workout program needs to be a combination of exciting enough that you stick with it, not boring enough,
right.
But then it needs to be also
boring finishers.
It needs to be boring enough, meaning that there's certain exercises you need to repeat each week because you need to progress in them in strength and reps and weight on the bar each week also. Yeah. It's like, I think that's probably one of the problems with a lot of the apps out there. We don't look through a lot of them, but I see people doing them on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, you're doing something different every time you open the app. Yeah. And honestly, that's not good.
You're never going to make progress like that. And you're probably not even going to be working anywhere close to the intensity that actually causes results either. Because it's like the first time you've ever done the darn thing. How do you know how hard you can push on a
right? How do you know how hard you can push? How do you know what weight to use? You have to like, practice it a few times before you even get it. I would feel like the workout would take forever if you're like, okay, let me learn how to do this, and then let me figure out what weight I'm using, and then let me try to do it, So just to say, you guys are very lucky.
Yeah. And maybe I already said this, but like you get better at doing these exercises the more frequently you do them. That's why like I can think of several custom clients where when they first started out, identified that their squat technique needed a lot of work. So we're going to squat really frequently because you're going to see the most progress in getting better at that technique right in the beginning. So we might be squatting 3 times a week, not so much that we're overloading you with total volume, but for the simple fact that like you get better at squatting the more that you do it.
And bringing it back to what we just talked about, maybe you're back squatting one day, maybe you're goblet squatting one day, maybe you're just air squatting one day. So if you're squatting 3 days a week, you're still practicing that squat, but you're not like, we're not wearing you down with like, you're going to squat every day of the week, a 305 pound weight.
Right. Unless you're buttons. So yeah, I guess the moral of the story is,
you're lucky.
If you're you're lucky, and if your exercise program is so confusing that you're not seeing the same movements pop up every single week with some small variation, then you're probably wasting your time and not making as much progress as you should. There should be some amount of boringness and repetition so that you're making progress in your program.
I think we need to mic drop this here because I am sweating. We are having to record these podcasts in our office with the AC off because it's like a window unit and it's loud, and 45 minutes in this room with no AC, and I don't know what we're going to do next month.
I don't think we're going to get any sympathy from our clients up in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, right now. I know. That I like what you posted the other day. We spent a year and a half in the Pacific Northwest. I do understand like the 108 days. Wow, that's intense. It is intense.
We had air conditioning in our house in Boise.
But
our clients, a lot of them work out in their basements. Yeah, and they don't have air conditioning.
I know.
Some of them
hot.
are staying in hotels. Some of them are sleeping in campers.
I understand it, but I also understand that'd be Texas all summer long. I'm just kidding.
We don't have AC in our outdoor gym either. We're in Central Texas. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you tuning into this episode. Reminder that registration for our 3 exercise programs,
basics, body, built,
all have progressions, all have actual coaching from Blakely, myself, and Haley, and all 3 come with a free month of nutrition coaching. It's a complete no-brainer. Check the link in the show notes and grab a spot.
We're almost sold out this month. It's very exciting.
We start July 5th. So, so if you have any questions about which program is right for you, it's really easy for us to guide you. Just send us a message. I'll put a link in the show notes for that too, and we'll let you know which one's right for you. So hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. We'll check you out next week.